Welcome back to the Two Blues podcast, and the full contingent is back together when we are back in European action and when we are able to give you a midweek preview. It is myself and I'm joined by Mr. C Money Picks, and today we are previewing FC Heidenheim versus Chelsea. Game week 4, match day 4 in the Europa Conference League. Chelsea looking to make it a perfect 4 from 4. We have been scintillating so far, 3 wins out of 3. 3 very convincing wins out of 3. A lot of goals scored. Obviously, last time out, 8-0 versus FC Noah. We've made a lot of friends along the way, man. Servette, Noah. We're building bridges with these obscure European teams. And Heidenheim, another team that I haven't heard of before this season. It's going to be interesting how this Chelsea side, again, the B team, it's always interesting whether they turn up. Who wants to perform, to push for the place in the A team, really? Because, again, another real B team lineup today. Just before we run through the lineup, Charms, how are you feeling about the game in general? You confident? You looking forward to it?
Yeah, man, I'm very confident with all of these European games. Whoa. There's a mad feedback on, by the way. So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling really confident, as I have been in all of these European games. I feel like this is the tournament that's ours for the taking. I've said it the whole time. What is it? 8, then 4 before that. 16 goals in 3 matches. But it's the type of Chelsea side that I want to see. I've literally just dumped lots of money on Christopher Nkunku to either score and assist, because it seems to be the running theme of this tournament. Christopher Nkunku kind of holding the line down, going up top. With Mark Yu, I like the pair of them, but I think that this particular is Christopher Nkunku's tournament, and I think that today's just going to be more of the same. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't manage to get on the score sheet or at least assist or contribute to the score in some way.
Yeah, that's a bet I'm going to be putting on as soon as we finish this live stream. But we'll run through the team very quickly, and there's just one change to the team that I thought he was going to play, and I thought Tyreek George was going to start out on the right. It looks like Jadon Sancho has got the nod instead. Great to see him back and starting for Chelsea. It's a strong team. Look, off the back of the performances that this B team has given us in the Europa Conference League, you would expect another spanking today. Philip Jorgensen in goal. Then going left to right at the back, we've got a back 4 of Renato Vega, Benoit Badiashile, Tosin Adarabioyo and Axel Disasi at right back. And we've got a midfield 2 of Cesare Casadei and Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. An attacking 3 of Mykhailo Mudryk on the left and Nkunku down the middle, you would imagine, and Jadon Sancho on the right. And then up top, leading the line, Mark Gu, who got his first goal last time out against Noah. So he'll be looking to build on that, build on the confidence. But what do you think? What do you make of that midfield decision, I suppose, to bring in Jadon Sancho when we do have, Rak-Saki, Mweha and Tyreek George on the bench, who I thought was going to start today?
I think it all goes back to I think it all goes back to sort of, I was watching Enzo Maresca's press conference yesterday, and him talking about minutes, and I think that's something that's been massive for him, is minutes. Jadon Sancho, obviously a big player to bring it in, needs the minutes. You look at a player like Tyreek George, whereas them minutes can be promised. I think with Jadon Sancho, you've kind of got to honour them a little bit more. Being especially being brought into the club in the way that he has. I think it just makes sense. And, if we're going to be building confidence and you have to pick, I think it makes sense for it to be Jadon Sancho. This is my personal preferred lineup going forward for this tournament. I would prefer Sancho playing today to Tyreek George. I just think the importance in the confidence long term is probably a lot better served for the person with the more experience. I mean, no question, Tyreek George is a fantastic player and is going to get his minutes in the Chelsea top. Whether that's throughout this season that they become more and more, or whether it's next season when we begin to focus that as someone that could potentially become a first-team player. I think Jadon Sancho is a little bit more of the finished product. So when you're going into these tournaments, I think you kind of owe him the minutes. So it makes sense. And obviously, it's not an easy job. I mean, the amount of maths and management he's had to do with the numbers and numeracy. I've read a stat. I think it was Christopher Nkunku's never played with both Palmer and Sancho. I think it was at the same time, which is interesting. I think it's that 3. There's 3 that you would have imagined have played multiple times together. They just simply haven't. just based on the fact that the minutes have got to be managed between all the players. And he read out, if I play this player, this player, this player, this player, this player, who do we play in defence? The only thing I don't like about this side is the Disasi in right back. It's something I've said multiple times. I don't like, playing out of position, particularly when the player himself is very 50-50 in the position he's comfortable in. So, yeah, it's just a shame with the whole Reece James right back situation. And yeah, it's just another forcing into the position that they don't necessarily play.
Yeah, that's something that we'll get into in a minute. The Reece James discussion, which is obviously far from ideal for anybody, but it's not like he would have been part of the team. It's not like we were expecting him to be part of the B team, the Conference League team. Much like Palmer, he would have been not included in the squad, and then maybe a bit of a rejig in the later games. But the only survivor, obviously, again, wholesale changes, which we were expecting, but 10 changes. There is just one survivor in this team from the weekend, and it is Benoit Badiashile. Now, I said in my live match reaction, I mentioned in my short as well, I think Badiashile's been extremely hard done by. I think the criticism he is receiving is very, very unfair, given the fact that he is coming off the back of a long-term injury, and he was a quality player before that knee injury. I think we saw enough. What?
No, I'm just pointing at me and the hater.
Oh, so less. I think that he's getting a lot of stick, and I think Saturday really showed us the best of what he can be. I think the way that he can break the lines, he can do the distribution side, that he's a very good on the ball, very good at distributing like Colwill, but he's also aggressive, pushes forward, front foot forward like Wes Fofana. He kind of, for me, he brings the best attributes of both of those centre-backs into one. And I think he's fairly fast, he's fairly young. I think in terms of his build, he's a good aerial threat. I genuinely think he's a very good all-round centre-back. And, I thought he had a fantastic individual performance on the weekend. And really, really hopeful that he is, out of all the centre-backs that we have kind of on the periphery now, and you look at these three as the main three, Tosin, Disasi and Badiashile, with talks of us going in and getting another centre-back, you've got Anselminho coming in at the end of this season. We have quite a lot of good quality young centre-backs. How do you feel about Benoit Badiashile at the moment? Are you still in the camp of get rid, not good enough, or is he showing you enough to kind of be part of this squad?
Yeah, I want to see more than just like a temporary form, because the Badiashile that I've seen for a long period of time can be a little bit of a two-way violation, and what it is everything you listed is bang on. He's very strong. He's underrated with his pace. I think that he's got a really good passing range as well. I don't mind him off of either foot. My main problem with Benoit Badiashile, and I think the most Chelsea fans' problem with him, is his IQ and his decision-making overall, which sometimes can be direct contribution to conceding goals. Just short passes in the wrong place, or just turning without checking his shoulder. And it's just the small things that really, really wind me up about Badiashile, because there is a great player in there for sure. But I just feel like there's so many layers to scrape off to see that. And like Sunday, we got that. But it wasn't exactly like we were being pushed to our max. If we're playing Liverpool and we have Badiashile there, I can almost guarantee he's going to make a very pressured mistake. He's going to have a Gakpo or a Luis Diaz or a Nunez just sniffing over his shoulder, and it's going to make him overreact and play a ball that he shouldn't play, or do something he shouldn't do. So I don't know. I just think with me, it's the decision making and the IQ, which is completely trainable, and all the physicals that you can't train are there. But yeah, man, I just, for me personally, I think that the full package has got to arrive like that. And, coming off of a long-term injury and whatnot, the amount of times I've been watching that back line and just been like, what is that geezer doing, drifting so far forward? Or don't give him the ball because he's just going to layer it, and he does. And we've conceded off of it. It's a couple too many to just see one or two good performances and kind of cut all the fat off of it. So I want to see more, and I think today's a good chance for him to shine. Should we keep a clean sheet, or should he, have a really good game, not let anything go through? But I'm gonna make my judgments after today, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, fingers crossed, obviously, off the back of a great performance on the weekend, if he can build on that, it will turn. We've seen how flippant this Chelsea fan base is. 2 good games, and you're the best thing since sliced bread. 2 bad games, and it's get out of my club now, or your head's going to be on a spike. So, we're both aware. We're under no illusions about how flippant this Chelsea fan base can be. So fingers crossed it's not something that, is played. I can imagine it does play in the players' minds. Fingers crossed, he just does what he knows he can do. I personally think I'm one of those people that thinks when you see the positive aspects of it, I feel like an average player couldn't do what he does. I feel like there are certain aspects, he sometimes drops stinkers and anybody can make a god-awful mistake. A back pass. We saw Guardiola have the worst game of his career against Feyenoord on Tuesday. It can happen to anybody, but at the same time, not everybody can, thread the needle with some of those passes, some of the decisions he makes, the tackles. I really think he is, it is very, so many of these Chelsea players are confidence driven that it needs to come from him, and then the fans will reciprocate that, and it will be a positive feedback mechanism. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's down to one person, and that is the player. Enzo Maresca has given him multiple chances, given him another one tonight. Fingers crossed, Benoit Badiashile cooks. Just a quick note to everyone on the YouTube and the Instagram. Guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We've got a few people involved in the comments. Big up you. Big up Amir. Come on the Blues. 3-0 clean sheet on the way. Guys, Instagram. Head over to the YouTube or just put your score predictions in the comments here. But give me score predictions. Coach's Corner. Big up yourself, bro. Big up your channel. Any Chelsea fans, go and subscribe to Coach's Corner as well. And any MMA, any UFC fans, go and follow subscribe to Smoked Him podcast, man. Let's fucking go. But before we get into the score predictions and kind of the meat and two veg, as you like to say, of the video, very, very quickly, I don't want to dwell on it, but it's got to be discussed. Reece James, talk to me.
I just can't be bothered. It's like I was talking about this at work 2-3 days ago, and I'll be honest, I'm done. I'm sick of it. I'm really done, because the best right back in the world on his day, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. I think that when he's there and he's fit and he's able, he's got 6 months football in him. Good luck getting around him, yeah? Saka, bins. Any left winger, gone. Vinny, gone, covered, right? But the problem is that is a wishful situation where he stays fit for 6 months. I can't remember the last time I've seen Reece James fit for a 60-minute stint on a pitch. It's getting embarrassing at this point. And to be totally honest, how many players have we seen do the Michael Owen where they look incredible and then get injured and then it's just never the same? And although he comes back from these injuries and has really good performance, he's gonna play 2 games and go back out again. And for me, when I'm looking at my club long term, and I see a player who wants it, he wants to be the captain, he wants to be the leader, he wants to be the best player on the pitch, right? But he can't stay fit. We just gotta it's just gotta go, honestly. And if I was to be given 50-60 million for Reece James right now, I'd probably take it. I'll be totally honest, because although I love the geezer, I think he's a fantastic football player. It's just it's almost too dependent on his fitness that I would literally just rather have a Malo Gusto or Renato Vega hold it down until we find a quality right back long term, because at least we're going to know who we're playing, and at least it's not going to be round the corner from then getting moved off for 2-3 weeks so that we can fit in Reece James and then they're just back playing football with a little bit of a sleeper not playing for a month. So I'm sick and tired of it, but yeah, man, I'm done.
Fairs. I mean, you're not the only one. Obviously, we've got Hanno in the comments as well, who is very and said even before you mentioned it, Reece James, time to go. It seems like a lot of Chelsea fans have had enough, and Maresca has come out and said, look, we need to get behind the player. There is nothing, no one is more disappointed than Reece James, and I fully understand that. I fully get that, but to an extent. I mean, I don't know if Reece James thinks as highly of himself as we do. We know how much of an issue it is. We know how much of a miss he is when he's not fit, when he's not available. And Hanno, I think, yeah, you're right. That's the most worrying thing. He didn't even play 2 games a week. This is not like we are playing Saturday, Wednesday, Champions League, intense football. He played a couple of cup games. He only did 2 90 minutes, bro. And they were the first 90 minutes he played in over a year. it is worrying. I'm not sell. Let me know in the comments as well, guys. Are you Reece James out? Is it time for Reece James to go? Another hamstring injury, another setback. I personally don't think the positives of selling him outweigh the negatives of having an injured Reece James on the book, to be honest. I would rather have El Capitan play one game, one game every 38 rather than sell him, because realistically, number one, who's going to buy him? Number two, who's going to pay for him? And number three, how much are you really going to pay for an injured Reece James? I mean, whether you can talk about warm climate, he might be better in Spain. Don't give me all that shit. Don't give me that shit, mate. Doesn't matter. Weather does not matter. I'm not saying if he goes to Saudi and it's not because it's warmer weather. There's one reason he's gone there. It's because it's fucking easier. That's the only reason. It's not as difficult, as intense as the Premier League. So, listen, I hear that. I've always said I think he'd always end up at Real Madrid. I always said I thought he'd be Real Madrid's right back, Trent would be Barcelona's right back. It just fits their style of play, fits their way. I can still see it happening. I can still see him going to Real Madrid, but honestly, I think he needs a good couple of seasons at Chelsea before we can consider, putting up money for him. But let's be honest, 2 years ago, if someone would have come in for Reece James, we would have said you can have him for 250 mil. No less than that. There's 2021 when we won the Champions League, he was unsellable. The year after that, when he was injured, 250 mil. I'd be hesitant. It sounds stupid, but I'd struggle to sell Reece James for 50 mil because, like you said, on his day, best right back in the world. It is just we do not see those days anymore. But I am a firm believer he can turn it around. Fingers crossed. I mean, look, we've got, you said there, we've got Malo Gusto. We've got a perfect replacement. It's not like we need Reece James. It's not like we are struggling at right back. It will get to the point where we are, you look at players like, and I think this is who coach Hanno was talking about, Achimpong. Josh Achimpong was told to sign the contract and he didn't want to sign the contract because he wasn't sure there was a path of progression for him in the first team because Reece James and Malo Gusto at right back. If I'm Achimpong, I personally don't think Reece James is a problem in terms of that pecking order because I've got the opportunity to play 30 odd games a season. He won't be there. But just last thing on the team before we get into score predictions. Obviously, the other one was Tyreek George and Sancho brought in. Now, you mentioned that Sancho is, and I can't remember the exact words you used, but it's more of a pressing issue, more of a pressing matter for Sancho to have minutes this season. I'd argue, now, obviously, you've got to think about this. I assume we're going to make Sancho permanent at the end of the season, but he is on loan, and Tyreek George hasn't got that much time because in 2025, Esteban Willian's joined him. And is that, I suppose the bigger question is it a problem for the Chelsea Academy graduates in general? But we'll get into that in an Academy episode. In terms of Tyreek George and what you've seen so far, have you seen enough from him to think that he can make it? Or do you think in, let's say, 13 months, by the FIFA Club World Cup, do you think Esteban Willian is going to have kind of taken his position?
Listen, I've seen more Tyreek George in a Chelsea shirt than I've seen of Esteban Willian, right? And first of all, Hanno, you need to fix that up, yeah, because that kid is a baller, by the way. Like he's like for real baller. And I was just about to lead this with, I'm a big believer that the league that you play in shouldn't define the quality of your ability, right? Because the amount of players we've seen, like Ganso, who look amazing in the Brazilian league and then just couldn't lift a candle to any team in Europe, couldn't do anything in Europe. Like it's happened before, Neymar was such an exception because of how well he had done in Brazil and then went and just done the same thing everywhere he had gone. And now we have a player like Esteban Willian. And I've seen more, as I said, Tyreek George in the Chelsea top. So right now, I'm using my brain. This is a football club I genuine care for, so I would probably want to put Project George ahead. However, the heights that both could hit, and from what I've seen and the potential in both, it's pretty night and day different, because Esteban Willian looks like he could genuinely be a top 3 player in the world, full stop, in any position, right? If he is to hit the heights that he's supposed to hit. So it is going to be a question of how does everything happen? When he comes into training, how quickly does he come into it? Are there any niggling injuries in either one of them that could hold them back? Who's got a bit more confidence, a bit more flair? Who can do more in what tournaments are we in as well? If we win the Conference League, it's going to make a massitive difference if we get knocked out. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of expendable factors which will play into kind of either of their hands, just depending on what happens. But me personally, weirdly enough, I'd probably go with George at the minute over Esteban Willian, just based on the fact that I've seen and I like it and I know that he can fit into that role. But it is going to be a really, really interesting problem to have. And it's also going to mean what happens with players like Mudryk, and what happens with players like Christopher Nkunku, what happens with, even Pedro Neto, realistically, genuinely, even Pedro Neto, players like that. We can see them go on loan, and we've got millions of other players who are out on loan that I can't even bring up off the top of my head. What's going to happen with David Washington? He's looked all right. I mean, it's not looking like keep him on loan another year. It's probably either keep him or sell him at this point. But yeah, it's really interesting, man. And I don't know. But as I said, right now, with everything included, you probably have to go with Tyreek George. It's just the problem that we have there is a gorgeous problem I've not seen in years.
I can't lie, Hanno, you had me, everything you were saying was bang on, and then you've hit you rate Esteban, I'm not sold, incorrect, bruv, guy's a baller, and then you've hit the Madaduki, bruv. Madaduki don't need to go nowhere, man. Mudryk might have to go. Listen, it's going to be, I can't lie, it must be one of those things where the wingers are thinking, I mean, fuck, we're competing now, but it must be in the back of their mind. It must be, Mudryk must be thinking, if I don't pattern myself up in 3 months, they've already lined up my replacement. It's kind of mad. And I do think that might play a part on some of their mentals, particularly because they are so young. But it's a problem for 2025. I think it's a good problem to have. And let's remember as well, Kendry Paez joining at the same time. And I would expect, if anyone goes out on loan of the two, I would expect it to be Paez. But we've been led to believe that both of them are coming straight into this Chelsea first team. So, I mean, who knows? It is anybody's guess at this point. But we might as well get into it. We've had a couple of predictions. Amir changed his mind. He said 3-0 clean sheet on the way, then changed his mind and said 5-0 clean sheet on the way. Accidentally put down the wrong prediction. Not mad at that, bro. If you want to boost it again, feel free to change it to 7 to 9. Let us know what you think the score is going to be, guys. Instagram as well. Let us know what you think the score is going to be tonight. But go on then, Mr. C Money, talk to me. Prediction tonight, score, and anything else.
Well, me personally, I think this is going to be a drubbing. I wouldn't be surprised if we concede, just with all the factors in mind. Secondary backline, Jorgensen has been a bit up and down. But my prediction for today is 3 or 4-0. Either one of the two, I'll be very, very happy with. I've also, I think that it's going to be a very, very surprisingly end-to-end. Heidenheim are a team that really like to just keep gunning and gunning and gunning. So I've got Jorgensen to make a few saves in there as well. If anyone's a gambling man, I would put 3 or 4 saves from Jorgensen. I can see him being a busy boy tonight, where the odds don't necessarily reflect that. Around Europe, I've also got Galatasaray to win, if that's of any interest. And the other one was I've actually got Porto to lose against Anderlecht. Anderlecht have been in amazing form as well. They haven't lost in home in Europe this season in the tournament, and they've had 2 games there, and they've looked sharp in both of them. Porto nailed on favourites, but literally only because of the history of the club. I mean, you look at current form; they haven't won in, I think, 5 games, or they're winless in 5 games, or something like that. So all round, it's going to be a pretty fun night. I love these. You know what? At first, I hated the Conference League because I thought it was pointless. Now that we're in it and we're playing all of these bummy teams, I like it, man. I think it's fun, and also a little bit of stroking the old football knowledge. I mean, I didn't know who Serviette was. I thought I wiped my lips with them 5 weeks ago. Heidenheim, couldn't tell you, bro. It sounds like a slur. And Genk, crazy. Sounds like a typo. So I'm loving all of these teams. And yeah, I've got Chelsea to just win by utter drubbing. My money is also on Christopher Nkunku to score or assist. Done it in every game so far for us this season. In Europe, looks great, looks sharp, looks awake. Mark Yu is also a. I think I'll put it like this: without any insulting any of my players, I think Mark Yu's form is going to lean into Nkunku being a little bit more prevalent going forward. I'll put it like that. Yeah, I could see Nkunku being the one to bag if anyone is to today.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. What was the odds on that? And was it Nkunku to score or assist or what?
It was to score or assist is just under one. Is just over 1 to 2. Basically, you can get Chelsea to win the game with Nkunku scoring or assisted, and then Jorgensen making 2 saves at even money. So I'll take it. That's why I've just slapped 20 quid on. So let's get it.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea to win by 2+ must be a fairly easy bet. Look, I'm going 4-1 tonight. I'd love a clean sheet, but I just think too many times, and I know it's a different team, but we saw exactly what happens with this immature Chelsea defence. Went 88 minutes without having a problem against Leicester, and then should have conceded 2 penalties. Only conceded 1, should have conceded 2. That Chelsea, those mistakes are still there. They will not disappear. And yeah, I can see Heidenheim scoring tonight, even though I don't know any of their players or where it would come from. I can see a mistake being made. Hallow reckons they're semi-decent. They're mid-table in the Bundesliga. I mean, semi-decent and mid-table in the Bundesliga are not mutually exclusive. You need to be top 3 in the Bundesliga to be semi-decent, or top 5. But can't imagine they're going to be a Leverkusen, a Dortmund. So yeah, fingers crossed, no problem. And Nkunku lining up his 11th of the season. And yeah, will he push for a place in the squad this weekend against Aston Villa? It's a big game this weekend, and I'm assuming a few of these players are going to want to be involved. Jadon Sancho, Christopher Nkunku will want to be in that first team, so it will be interesting how that goes tonight. But guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We will be doing a live match preview, a live match reaction, of course, on the channel, and I will try and make sure that my short is out as soon as possible. Hopefully before the Spurs-Roma game at 8 o'clock, because I know that is going to be absolutely unbelievable hate watching. The Galatasaray game was quality. This is going to be even better. Who knows what Spurs team is going to turn up. They beat Man City 4-0, so they're probably going to get absolutely smashed against Roma. I will give you one last recap, Amir. I'm also very conscious that my camera is about to turn off. But bear with me 1 second. The lineup for everybody on the TikTok and everybody won last time on the YouTube. Philip Jorgensen in goal, back 4 of Renato Vega at left back, Badia Shil and Tosin Adarabioyo centre back, Axel Disasi right back, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall and Cassidy in midfield with Christopher Nkunku in the 10, Mudryk out left, Jadon Sancho out right, Mark Q up top, with a bench of Robert Sanchez, Levi Colwill, Noni Madueke, João Felix, Carney Chukwuemeka, and then the good stuff, Keanu Dyer, Tyreek George, Samuel Raksaki and Shim Mweka, who I hope we see all 4 of them tonight. Tonight will be a great opportunity. If we get 2-3 goals in early doors, fantastic opportunity for Mweka to get his first minutes. I think Dyer's already come on in the Conference League, might be mistaken, but Tyreek George, definitely get him on. Raksaki, definitely get him on. I want all 4 of the youngsters. Amir, no, Palmer is still not part of the squad. This is obviously very much a B team. When we get to the knockout stages, I'm assuming they will put another squad forward. Whether Palmer is part of that or not, I do not know. But yeah, we will find out then. But yeah, appreciate everybody joining. Chalmers, by the way, that's a sick hat. I'm going to text you after the thing about the hat. Ford hat goes hard. But yeah, everybody make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Two Blues Podcast, Instagram, TikTok. Two Blues Charms, Instagram, TikTok. At Smoked In Podcast, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Do up all of that, man. Come on to Chelsea. The Blues. Let's have it.